On day 1 of my 30-day screen time challenge, my phone screen time was 7 hours and 9 minutes. Instagram alone was 1 hour and 43 minutes. And on day 29, my total screen time was 1 hour and 24 minutes. Instagram, 3 minutes. And I didn't even want the rest of it. That's not willpower. I didn't white knuckle my way through 30 days. And when I went looking for why, I found the answer in a branch of neuroscience I hadn't expected. This video is two things. First, the honest data from my challenge, what worked, what the numbers actually look like, and the one metric that surprised me more than any other. The second is the neuroscience of what was happening inside my brain the entire time, specifically a medical technology called neurofeedback, and what it tells us about attention habit and how the brain rewires itself. Let's get into it. Let's look at the challenge data. I want to show you the real numbers, not a highlight reel. Day 1 was 7 hours 9 minutes total screen time and day 29 is 1 hour 24 minutes. That's a reduction of over 5 hours per day in under a month. But the number I'm most proud of isn't the total, it's Instagram. Day 1, I spent 1 hour and 43 minutes on Instagram. By day 29, I used it for 3 minutes, and those 3 minutes were intentional. I was checking posts from my close friends, not scrolling, not consuming whatever the algorithm served me, specifically choosing what I wanted to see and then closing the app. That shift from passive consumption to intentional use is the one that felt most significant. And I didn't plan for it. I set a 15-minute limit on Instagram at the start of the challenge. By week 3, I wasn't even using the full 15 minutes, not because I was disciplined, but because I stopped wanting to. Here's what the trend looked like over 30 days. Week 1, the total screen time averaging around 3 to 4 hours. Still adjusting, a few days went over, Instagram hovering at 10 to 16 minutes daily. Week 2, the limits started feeling normal. Commute time and WhatsApp made up the bulk. Instagram dropped consistently below 10 minutes. And week 3, something shifted. The reflex to pick up the phone got quieter. I started noticing I had 6 or 7 minutes left on my Instagram limit and just didn't want them. Week 4, under 2 hours most day. Instagram between 3 and 7 minutes. The phone started feeling like a tool and not a default. One more detail, I tracked pickups. How many times I physically picked up my phone? On day 12, I had 74 pickups with another 3 hours of total screen time. That told me something important. Low usage time doesn't automatically mean low compulsion. The habit of reaching for the phone outlasts the habit of scrolling on it. Both need to change. So that's what happened. But why did it happen? That's where neurofeedback comes in. Let's understand what is neurofeedback. So, neurofeedback is a form of biofeedback therapy used in clinical settings to treat ADHD, anxiety, PTSD, and attention disorders. The basic premise is you can train your brain to produce different electrical patterns the same way you would train a muscle. Here's how it works at a physiological level. Your brain runs on electrical activity. Neurons communicate through electrochemical signals, and when large groups of neurons fire in synchrony, they produce detectable electrical oscillations, that is, the brain waves. These waves are measured in hertz, and different frequencies correspond to different cognitive states. The four frequencies you need to know: delta, that is 0.5 to 4 hertz, which is in deep sleep, very slow, the brain is in full recovery mode. Theta, 4 to 8 hertz, drowsiness, daydreaming, and critically, the state associated with compulsive behavior and craving. High theta in frontal regions has been linked to impulsivity and difficulty redirecting attention. Alpha, that is 8 to 13 hertz, calm, relaxed wakefulness. The brain is in subtle present state associated with reduced anxiety and improved focus readiness. Beta, 13 to 30 hertz, active thinking, focus, executive function. The state your prefrontal cortex operates in when you're making deliberate decisions rather than running on an habit. When you're doom scrolling, your brain is running on theta, the autopilot frequency. You're not deciding to keep scrolling. You're just not scrolling. The prefrontal cortex, the part that would say, okay, that's enough, is underactive. The habit loop is running without executive override. Neurofeedback therapy targets exactly this imbalance. How neurofeedback works as a system. This is the system design layer, and I find it genuinely fascinating. A neurofeedback session looks like this. A patient sits in front of a screen wearing an EEG cap, a set of electrodes placed on the scalp at standardized positions. The EEG records electrical activity from the brain in real time. That raw signal is processed, filtered for artifacts, and decomposed into component frequencies. The system then does something elegant. It turns your brain activity into a feedback signal you can perceive, usually a visual or audio cue. a tone that plays when your brain produces a target frequency, a video that pauses when you drift into the wrong state. The feedback loop is something like this. Electrodes detect brainwave patterns, signal processing filters noise and extracts frequency bands. A threshold algorithm determines whether target frequencies are being produced. The interface rewards the target state in real time within milliseconds, and the brain receiving that reward signal learns to reproduce the state more reliably over sessions. This works because of a principle called operant conditioning, which is the same learning mechanism that makes you check notifications. The brain is reward sensitive. It repeats behaviors that produces a positive signal. Neurofeedback hijacks the same system to train better brain states instead of compulsive ones. What's actually happening in the brain over time? Repeated neurofeedback sessions produce measurable changes in what's called functional connectivity, the way different brain regions communicate with each other. Specifically, clinical studies show increased beta coherence in the prefrontal cortex means stronger executive function, better top down attention control. Reduced theta amplitude in frontal regions means less autopilot, less impulsivity. And improved alpha band regulation means better capacity to shift into a calm, non reactive state. A 2023 meta analysis found neurofeedback produced significant improvements in attention regulation in ADHD populations, with effect sizes comparable to stimulant medication in several measures, without the pharmacological side effects. Here's the connection to screen time. What my 30-day challenge was doing at a much lower resolution was the same thing. Every time I checked my screen time and noticed the number, that was feedback. Every time I hit the Instagram limit and chose not to override it, that was operant conditioning. My prefrontal cortex practicing executive override of the theta driven scroll impulse. Every day of consistency was a repetition that strengthened that neural pathway. I didn't have EEG electrodes. I had an iPhone and a screen time notification. The mechanism was the same. The feedback loop was real. I just didn't have a label for it until now. What this means practically. If your screen time challenge hasn't worked before, here's why through this lens. One time decisions don't create new neural pathways. Deleting Instagram for a week doesn't train your brain out of the theta scroll state. It just removes the trigger temporarily. When the app comes back, the pathway is unchanged. What does work is daily feedback. The act of checking your screen time every single day, even when the number is bad, is a low grade neurofeedback loop. You are making the unconscious visible. That visibility interrupts the autopilot. Over enough repetitions, the prefrontal cortex starts to get ahead of the impulse. The 15-minute limit was a threshold mechanism. Just like neurofeedback uses a threshold to trigger a reward or penalty, the app limit created a hard external signal at a set boundary. Over time, my brain internalized that boundary. I stopped needing the notification to stop. I'd already stopped. The pickup count matters as much as the usage time. If you are going to run this challenge, track both. High pickups with low usage time tells you the compulsion is still there, even if the behavior is contained. You want both numbers to fall together. The three tools that made this work: a daily limit on the highest risk app, a daily review of all the numbers, and public accountability through posting. That third one is not trivial. Social consequence is one of the most effective modulators of behavioral change. I started this challenge expecting to use my phone less. I didn't expect to stop wanting to use it the way I used to. The difference between those two outcomes is neural. It's the difference between suppressing a behavior and actually rewiring the pattern underneath it. Neurofeedback does that deliberately with clinical precision. A screen time challenge does it slowly with data and repetition. Both work for the same reason. The brain changes in response to consistent feedback. It always has. If you're thinking about running a 30-day challenge, start tomorrow. The only thing you need is to check the number every day and be honest about what you see. That's the feedback loop. The rest follows. I post new video every Saturday. If this was helpful, subscribe. I'll see you next week. Bye.